Travis Jones, welcome to the Story Engine podcast.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm really excited to be on here today.
Yeah, Travis, and I want to introduce you properly with the same question I ask all my guests. Tell me about a moment in your life that's defined you to be who you are, serve who you're serving, and show up how you're showing up today.
I'll tell you back to a moment before I got into the fitness industry, and I had this splitting headache, and I felt like I was literally getting knocked to my feet. I felt nauseous in my stomach. I thought, I just had some form of flu or cold. I was staying at a friend's house, and I said, I just need to have a shower. I walked into the shower, and I passed out in the shower. I was in there for about 30 minutes, and his sister was like, get him out of the shower. I need to get ready for work. So they knocked down this door, and I was passed out in the shower. And they called the ambulance, or they called the hospital, and the ambulance came, and they picked me up. And I had about, I would say about 30 to 60 seconds to live. I flatlined 4 times on the way from the ambulance to the hospital. And then when I got into hospital, I had kidney failure, and I was in intensive care for about 3 months. And I had something called meningococcal. I was trying to play professional rugby league, and it sort of got ripped away from me in a heartbeat because because sharing water bottles on the footy field. And from that, I tried to come back after this meningococcal, where it's like a blood infection, and essentially you lose limbs, all the rest of it. Luckily, I didn't. And the next week I came back and I did my knee. And then I tried to come back 3 months later, I broke my neck. And, this sort of sum of events that happened over about a 6-month period of time shifted the direction from trying to be professional sports player to actually going, what, this is not what you're born for. You're born for something else. And for me, it was to serve people, to help them achieve their potential in life.
That is amazing. And now I'm going to be very careful with who I share water bottles with these days. But yeah, that's amazing that's come around. And I love the way you brought us into that story. I think a lot of us have these really defining, often dramatic moments that help us change directions in life. And yeah, it's tough sometimes. It feels like a lot of times we want to go one direction, and we're just like banging our head against the wall until we finally like look to our left and our right and see a different path. When you say helping people reach their potential, what does that look like for you, and what are some of the favorite ways that you do that these days?
The main 2 businesses that we do is we have about 3,000 members across the gyms, and also I help people achieve 7 figures plus in business. Now with this, when I say achieve potential, I think most people are running at about 70 to 80% of their potential, if that. Because they don't have the belief, they don't have the clarity, they don't have the plan or the roadmap. They just need someone to, one, prod them from behind and give them a carrot from in front, and let them know it's going to be okay along the way. And I love coaching people in any aspect, and you just give them a little bit of information, and all of a sudden you see this light bulb moment go off, and they're like, their eyes lighten up, and they're like, okay, I can do this. And in that moment, oh my God, I can do this moment, it's like, okay, I got through to them. Now I just have to nurture them from now all the way through. And it's changing their standards, it's changing their beliefs, and it's keeping them accountable on a daily basis all the way through the plan to their goal. And, you just transform that person's life.
What happens right before that light bulb moment? When you, is there something certain that you're doing, or is there a specific question that you're usually asking? Is there any kind of pattern that's happening before when you give them a prod or something, and then they light up in a new way?
I'm probably normally swearing at them. But to be honest, I think everyone's slightly different, right? Because everyone's in a different version of pain. I think a lot of people have to hit some version of rock bottom to go up. But sometimes you just have to remind people, they're tolerating a life of mediocrity, and you get in life what you tolerate. So, are you ready to stop tolerating the life that you're living? And you have to essentially kill the person you are to become the person you were meant to be. So if you're ready to cross the threshold and make that moment and choose that new identity that you need to become, it's the hero's version of yourself. And if they can identify the standards that have brought them until today, like up until this point right now, and I'm talking to them, you don't want to be that person anymore, because that's why we're having a conversation. So what are the standards you must leave, and what are the standards you must adopt? And that is the new you. And I think sometimes unconsciously people walk through life, and what I try and do is consciously let them know and help them understand the choices that they're making that they don't even realize they are making.
I love that so much. That really resonates with me when you say you've got to kill the person that you were. And I would add to that and say, if you don't, that person will kill you. I say this with experience. I mean, that was probably what was happening to you in the shower right there. What a big turning point in my life was realizing I had an autoimmune disease, which was slowly sapping a lot of joy and energy from my life as well. And once I figured that out, it really did provide the catalyst, which has made a big change in direction for me personally. I want to give you full credit, because you're very, very impressive, and you've mentioned a couple of these businesses, but you're running a lot of different things right now. And can you just share everything that's going on, everything that you're in charge of right now, when we're talking about what does 100% potential look like for you in your own life?
Yeah, man, I try and evolve every couple of years. And it's like, okay, who am I now? And is that going to take me to where I need to be over the next 2 years? And then I sort of look at my stands and my habits and see where I need to drop back and lift up. And definitely the person I was 8 years ago, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now. And I won't be able to do what I want to do in 8 years if I stay who I am right now as well. At the moment, we have 15 gyms, about 3,000 members, about 80 employees across the country. And for that, like we manage, the 15 managers and everyone below them. It's 7 a.m. now here to jump up and do a podcast. Did a podcast last night at 7:45. I think, there's there's these two paradigms of people. One that's like the hustle, hustle, hustle. And then there's also the people who are like, don't work too hard. Like, life is precious. I sort of sit in the middle of those two camps. I have two kids, which are my life, and also my wife. I make sure I don't miss them whatsoever. Like I leave work at 3 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We have gymnastics, and we have taekwondo, and I make sure I put them to bed every single night. I'm there for them. I drop them off to creche every single morning. Like, my family is everything. I don't compromise for that. But the gyms is the main thing that we started, or main thing I started 8 years ago. And it was out of a want to try and change the fitness industry, and we're slowly doing that, and the goal is to continue to 50 gyms. Now, there's that part of the business, and then off that sparked, no other marketing company could essentially get us the lead generation that we were getting. So we continue to grow our own marketing company, and people were like, oh, can you do marketing for us? And can you do marketing for us? And we heavily rely on, Facebook ads and Instagram advertising to grow our businesses. So from that, it started to spawn this another company called Attain Digital. So you have account managers and campaign managers and strategists and copywriters that essentially are doing lead generation for brick and mortar businesses. Now, then they're like, oh, wow, you're growing your businesses. And people say, oh, can you start to, consult and coach to me in business? We're like, okay. And then, let's do it. There's a story about the real reason of why we did that. Maybe we'll get that to in a bit. It's a pretty crazy story. But over the span of about 12 weeks, we started this 8-week accelerator program, and we launched this consulting company to just over 7 figures in 8 weeks. And it went really crazy. And then from that, it spawned into this mastermind that we sort of have. And, I've gone up and down with the consulting over the years, because, you start to sort of shift your identity. But we have a good group of consulting clients from, North America to Australia to Europe now. So we do that. And I'm heavily in the fitness space. So we then go, okay, what's a gap in the marketplace, and what do I want? And there's this app and software that we created, which is Keystone Health and Fitness. So what I look at doing a lot of the time is I look at, who my surroundings are, what do people like that want to achieve, and can I help facilitate them, and can they help facilitate me? It's like this sort of, barter arrangement, or there's some form of reciprocity. And one of the clients at one of our gyms, he was a fantastic developer, and I was like, this is my idea. And he's like, I wanted to do something very similar. And, since then we've got him full-time, two people that he grew up with in Russia have moved to Australia. We've got another couple of Russians working for us over in Russia, developing our software and app. We have only about 100 coaches on it now, and about 6,000 end users on it. We haven't started marketing yet. I just put it out to my social profile a little bit for, beta testers over the last year, and we'll start marketing over the next month. But what we've done, we've created this app and portal where, health and fitness professionals can coach their end user or their clients through an app. And essentially they're tracking their training, tracking their body, their feelings, their stress, their sleep, their tracking, like I said, their volume, their reps, their sets, their, cardio, their conditioning. And there's a two-way interface. They're tracking everything that you can have as far as metrics, as pushing straight into a portal where you can look at all your clients at once. You can send out your reminders. You can create meal plans. You can push out your programs. And for me, like it wasn't really out there to the degree that we're doing it and what we're building it at the moment as well. So I think everything sort of spun off the gyms, to be honest, at the start, and they just kept like evolving. There's always going to be a couple of other evolutions, but I try not to commit to too much, because then I'll start to fall away with everything. So for me, that's like the businesses that we look at, and then it's making sure that I can sort of run a productive life so I can be across all the businesses, from the daily huddles across the different businesses to the weekly meetings, to understand what my focus points are on each of the businesses, to make sure that we can keep driving the business forward, the engine.
Absolutely. There's so much good stuff in there, and I'm so curious on your styles of management. This is a two-sided question. First, I'd love to know how you manage yourself. How do you keep your energy up? How do you know when to draw boundaries and say, okay, this is too much work. I'm gonna put this away. And also, how do you keep your energy high and your mind strong and sharp so that you can work on all these things? And then on the other side, I'd love to know if you have systems to manage all of these different teams. What's working really well to keep all of these different projects organized and running smoothly under your purview?
Yeah, man. Like I think it's two things we can really control in life, which is effort and attitude, or attention and attitude. So many of us take our attention and we start focusing on negative states or negative stories that we tell ourselves. And this can take us down to this spiral of, I don't have enough time, or I feel tired, or anything like that. Like you're giving your attention to the wrong stuff. It's like you should be giving your attention to how lucky you are. You should be giving your attention to, like, for us, we're talking first world countries right now. We really don't have problems. For me, like I've got 2 legs, 2 arms, 2 eyes, and I'm talking to you through the internet. Like, like my problems are okay. I'm eating today. So when I get down on myself, I'm like, why is my attention on this? And how can I shift my attention back to that of gratitude? Because I think that's one of the most crucial things. I think so many of us aren't living with enough gratitude, and we need to increase that. So what I do in the mornings and what I do at nights is I write down the 3 things I'm grateful for today. And then I talk to my wife and we connect at night. It's like, what were the 3 things that are great that happened in your day? So one is essentially just in generalizing in the morning, and the night times, what 3 things actually happened that are great today. What I believe this does is when we're looking at a reticular activating system or center, what you look at or what you think about, you start to see more of it in your life. You like buy that car and all of a sudden you see that car everywhere on the street. It's like, wow, I didn't know there was that many Range Rovers on the street. But then all of a sudden, the same as gratitude, all of a sudden, if you start talking about it in the morning, you start talking about it at night, you start seeing more gratitude. You see grace throughout your life, and you become actually more happy because it's how you have a higher awareness, a higher consciousness for everything that is great. But for those people who wake up in the morning, they're like, oh, I don't want to wake up. Oh, why me? I don't want to go to work. Oh, this is a crappy day. I'm so tired. All of a sudden, they start seeing negativity everywhere. And that is literally what makes you tired, because you start pushing yourself into a negative state, then nothing positive can happen from that. And all of a sudden, then your life starts to suck. So I think one thing is energy management. That is such a crucial thing for me. And that's a conscious energy management. It's not like doing anything. It's like, right now you're stupid. You're being stupid to me. So I will sometimes like snap myself out like that. It's like, I don't mind calling myself stupid at times, because sometimes if I'm focusing on something that is ridiculous, it's like, man, you're being stupid right now. Get your shit together. But then at the same time, it's like, okay, cool. I want to look after my health. So I make sure I train probably like 5-6 times a week. Like, it's important to me, one, for my sanity, because I just feel like it doesn't matter if I'm going for a run or lifting some weights. If I'm getting my heart moving and my body moving, like, you just feel better.
You'll go crazy if I don't. Yeah, you go crazy if you don't get the energy out. That's where a lot of the anxiety comes from for me.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And then the next thing is, like, with my nutrition, I think I'm not someone's crazy on nutrition. Like, I understand calories and macros, and I can, transform anyone to get to where they want to be with their body. But for me, I sort of hit my calories within, like, 10-20%. I sort of intuitively eat most of the time, so not weighing stuff or anything like that. But I know that, I enjoy wine, so I'll have a couple of glasses of wine. And, for me, like, I hit about, I would say about 16,000 calories a week is on my plan. So as long as I'm within like 2,000 calories up, 2,000 calories down, everything is pretty good. I run in good energy state. Now, if I overeat, I start to get lethargic. If I undereat, I start to get lethargic. So for me, it's just like understanding. It's like, I know what a chicken breast is, or I know what that burger is as well. Like, I just understand what the makeup is, and like an estimate. So I'm like, cool, I know what I'm eating today. And from there, I can sort of manage my energy. Making sure I'm drinking enough water, making sure I'm having better quality conversations. It's making sure I can get rid of the people in my life that are actually taking my energy down as well. I think that's such a crucial thing that people don't do. Like, the whole cliche, you are the sum of the 5 people. It is true, but like, your energy is the sum of the 5 people. Like, that's what people don't think about. It's like, if you're around people who have low states, low energy, and they are always talking about what they can't achieve and the negativity around it, it's like, all of a sudden doubt will start to creep into your mind. And we really, if we want excellence in life, we don't have a place in our life for doubt. And I think those three or 4 things wrapped in together, that's what sort of keeps my energy at a higher level. I work in like 90-minute meridians. So it's like, I know that I can't focus for longer than 90 minutes at a time whenever I'm doing something. So say I start working at 9 a.m., I'll work from 9 a.m. to 10:30 on a project. And then from 10:30 to 10:45, I'll go for a walk. I'll go have a chat with someone. I'll like just shift like essentially what my focus is, because if not, my productivity will start to decrease. My decision fatigue will kick in. My creativity will drop down. So what I do is I reset. And there was a study in jail with parolees and the judges, and I believe it was before lunch and before like the afternoon break. The people who were going up for parole went down to 0% were actually getting parole between the half an hour breaks before the judge was eating both times, because they have pure decision fatigue. And it's like, imagine if you're in jail and you knew you had a 0% chance of getting your parole because you just happened to have your parole hearing just before lunch. It's like, hey, just put me back in there. I'm not doing it right now. It's crazy. So I think people don't manage that decision fatigue. So it's making sure you put in your biggest tasks earlier in the morning. It's like, eat that frog first, doing it in 90-minute meridians, go for a walk, get some energy back from the earth, and have about, 5 or 6 of these meridians on a daily basis. And I know what it takes for me to win the game and lose the game on a daily basis. So again, what I look at is like, if you're just doing work, and if you don't know what the scoreboard is for your work, then all of a sudden, if you don't know a scoreboard, you're just playing the game and there is no score. It's like, if you've ever been to a game, say went to an NFL match or a footy match or whatever it is, and there was no scoreboard, it would be the most boring game in the world, because who's winning and who's losing? And I think, and all of a sudden, the way they're playing will start to become mediocre because they don't care. Now, for you, if you can start to gamify your day and gamify your week, now all of a sudden you will care about being productive because you know you need to do these 3 tasks on a daily basis. And if you just do these 3 fundamental tasks, you win the day. All of a sudden you'll get your stuff together and you actually start winning the day because you're like, I know the scoreboard, I know what it takes to win now. And you're not going to win every day, but I think if you look at the whole Seinfeld strategy, he sort of wrote a joke every single day and was trying not to break the chain, and that's how he became essentially, one of the world's greatest comedians. Like, he just had this big calendar up on the board and he put an X every day he wrote a joke, or he did like these 30 minutes of writing jokes, and his whole goal was to not break the chain. But his rule was, if I do break the chain, I can only do it for one day and then I go straight back into it. So if you do lose the day, just make sure you never lose 2 days in a row. And I think, again, if you look at that, if you're winning creates momentum. If you go into the footy field or you're looking at change rooms of someone who just played a sporting match, the change rooms of the losing people or the change rooms of the winning people, they don't even look like they just played the game. They look like they can go and play another game again because they have such high energy and momentum because they won. You look at the losing team, it looks like they've played like 3 games already and they're literally down and out and they have no energy left. So what you have to look at is, how can you take this into your life? If you're not winning on a daily basis or not losing on a daily basis, well, you're losing because you have no fulfillment. And if you're losing, it's like, what do you have to do to turn the actual notch or the lever to start winning? And if you actually tracking the scoreboard and you start winning, all of a sudden you have high energy and you look forward to your days because I know what it takes to win. I'm going to make sure I do it every day. And I've done it for the last 7 days in a row. I think those key points I was talking about, I think that's energy management, I believe.
That is incredible. So much detail. And I feel the sharpness and the energy coming across right now. It's so much fun exploring with you. And now tell me about your teams and working with your teams. How do you make sure that everybody is on that same par as you are across the board?
It's interesting. Like, I'm not a really good manager, I believe. And it's not something like I really feel like I want to work on. That's just me, right? I think there's different skill sets of managers and leadership. I think I'm a good leader. I'm willing to move. John Maxwell talks about the 5 levels of leadership, and I like the book because it's a very easy framework for you to go, oh, I'm this level of leader, and I need to do this to get through it. So it's like positional-based leadership. It's like, I'm your boss, do what I say. There's people development, and to get through that, you actually have to have the ability for crucial conversations and give feedback. And then there's this production where you're doing it with them and you're pace setting for them, and they've got this trust and credibility and buy-in. And then you sort of remove yourself above that and you create another leader below you, and they have production without you. And I think that's where I'm at. And I think that's where I believe I'm at, and that's where I need to try and be for my teams. So if I can try and lead my teams and have actual connections with them, where I know the first thing I do, and this is for all our employees across all the company, it's like, where are you? Where do you want to be in the next 12 months? Like, what if you could transport your life 12 months from today, and where right now it's like June 14 for me, and it's essentially 2019. If we were standing here June 14, 2020, and we looked back over the last year, what would have had to happen for your life to be a success professionally and personally? Let's write it all down. And all of a sudden now I want to know what I need to do to help them. So it's like, what can I do and make sure I can play a part in achieving this success for you in your life over the next year? And because all of a sudden I'm getting buy-in to their life, they start getting buy-in to me. And I asked them, it's like, what exactly do you need from me? Like, what tasks, what skills, what accountability do you need from me and my teams and my businesses for us to get you to where you want to be? And they let me know. It's like, oh, great, fantastic. And then we talk about their standards, like what standards you need to live by. And I talk about these 2 other things as well. It's like, there's a hero's version of yourself and there's a villain's version of yourself. And I normally get these people to write these 2 sort of pages down. And the hero version of yourself, when you wake up in the morning, what would they do? Would they wake up at 5 a.m.? Would they not press snooze? Would they go and work out? What would they eat? How would they interact with their partner? Would they read in the morning? Would they get through their 20 pages of education? Would they share and serve the world with some form of communication and growth? What would they do then? How would they greet people in the street? What would they eat then? How would their day go? And you're literally writing down what the hero's version of yourself is. And then we look at, okay, what about the villain? Like, what about the worst case version of you? Like, what would they do? How many times do they press snooze? What do they eat? How quickly do they snap at their partner? But like, we have these two versions of themselves, and it's like, to do what you want to do over the next year, to make this a success, do you consciously need to choose to be the hero on a daily basis? And again, I think so much things we do is, like this sort of unconscious or subconscious choices. So what I try and do is to make them consciously become aware that they must choose the hero on a daily basis. And now, because we have buy-in, this is step one, because you can't manage or lead someone if they don't believe in you. You don't inspire them in some way, whether it be your education, like your knowledge, or what you've done for them, or whatever it is. Like, we inspire them, we give them a very clear navigation, so they know what it's like to win and what it's not like to not win as well. So now they have clarity, and they know that, like, I will bleed for them if they bleed for me. Like, I'll make sure that we take them as far as they want to go. They just have to put in the time as well. So we have this sort of mutual understanding. I think, this comes before, it's built over time, but I think if you need to have this to grow a company. If you don't have this, you'll have poor culture, and you have to set your cultural standards. Like for us, with RBT, for example, we have inspire, we have educate and empower, we're result driven, and we're community driven. So that is our teams in our company, and also from our teams to our clients. So we need to understand what it is to live the values and not live the values. So we're very clear on that as well. And then from that, I can lead them. I can make sure they're on the right path. We're all on the right track. And then I can start managing them. So like, I think management comes after leadership. So with management, we have a daily huddle. So like me to my leadership team, or management team, we have a daily huddle at 10:21 every single day, where we go through the key numbers of the business. It's like, what's the sales, what's the cancellations, what's the suspensions, all that sort of stuff. And I can see a great hum of the business with me and my regional managers who look after a multitude of gyms. And they have a daily huddle before that with their managers. And those managers have a daily huddle before that with their staff. So all of a sudden, this sort of wave of huddles comes through the business where we can get these key numbers that actually start to transport and drive the business forward. And what happens is every single number in a business tells a story. If a number is off, I can sort of understand what it is, and I can go, hey, let's take this offline after this huddle, and let's have a conversation about it, and really find the underlying cause for this number being off, this suspension being high, or whatever it is that's going on. And because we have these numbers before 10:21, what I can do is I have a certain time throughout my day where I can have these conversations, and I can help, move the needle forward for my managers on a day-to-day basis. So that's like essentially the rhythm of the business. We have and that's with every one of the businesses. So I have 10-minute huddles with one business, and I have 10-minute huddles with another business. And, the app and software, we just have a 60-minute meeting once a week because, it's not as full on at the moment, and I sort of have maybe more some ad hoc meetings with the main developer there to make sure everything's going in the right direction throughout the week. And we have a daily huddle with the Attain and a weekly meeting as well. So we have one main weekly meeting with the leadership team. We have daily huddles on a daily basis, and we have quarterly development meetings to make sure that we're actually utilizing projects and driving it forward. I'll have one-on-ones with the key staff on a weekly basis through our people development time. And also what I'll do is, in the main company, which is RBT, I'll sit down with a staff member or two staff members every single week who is not my direct report. I'll have a coffee with them and just see where they're at and see how they're going and connect with them. And I think that's such a crucial thing as well. And that's it, man. Like for me, I start with the education in the morning. I grow my brain and I contribute and I start writing and I start serving. I have my huddles and I focus on my projects that I need to move forward after that. And then all the distraction, whether it be the emails or getting back to phone calls, that all happens in the afternoon when I literally have my decision fatigue has kicked in and I don't have any creative thought processes left.
Man, I really loved when you said about having the huddles kind of trickle up, so everybody is right up to date, and so that you're getting the freshest, best information, and those systems are incredible. I feel intuitively compelled to ask you this question. We'll see where it goes. I'd love to hear about an investment that you made that was a huge leap forward, but probably at first you were like, you kind of had that feeling in your stomach, like, oh, I don't know if this is gonna, or like if this is gonna pay off, this is a really big thing. But then it turns around and you were like, that was one of the best things I've ever done.
Man, I'm a very, when we're talking about risk thresholds, like I live very far on the risk side of things, making a lot of people uncomfortable. Like even when I started RBT, when I started the first gym, I didn't really have the deposit for the first gym. I was like, I just know I need to help more people. I need to change more lives. So what I did, like the first couple of months, I had some pretty crazy conversations. I'm a persuasive and I can influence people at times. So what I did is like the guy who had the leasing, I had enough money, and I only had enough money because I sold my car to pay the bond, but I didn't have enough money for the security deposit as well. So I was like, hey, here's the bond for the first 2 months rent. I've got the security deposit, but it's in between bank accounts at the moment. I'll get it to you over the next month. I just have to free up some stuff. Can I take it? And they said yes. I was like, fantastic. And like to me, like I actually found this one location within like 2 or 3 weeks. It was super fast. I was like, I need to do something, and I'm not going to hit my goal that I wanted to hit by the time I was 30. I was 26. I was like, you need to pull your head out of your butt, and you need to start working on your life. So that was it. I was like, I'm going for it. So I was like, I know I can help more people. I know I can make more money. I know I can change more lives, and I need to start this first gym. Now, I didn't have equipment or money for equipment either, so I sort of Googled up the new equipment suppliers, and I found this guy had like Wynn Fitness, WYNN. He actually has gone out of business now, unfortunately, Simon. And I said to him, I was like, hey, man, like I don't have enough money to pay you up front for the equipment, but I do have enough money to pay you monthly. And what I'll do is I'll sign a contract with you. If I ever miss a payment, you just take the equipment, and that's it. You know, you leave me without it. And he agreed to it because he wanted the business. So I didn't get enough equipment for him to fit out the whole gym, just half the gym, and the rest of the gym was like coming soon. But now I had a lease, and now I had essentially half the equipment filled. And I was walking the streets, literally walking up to people, grabbing them and bringing them in the gym. I lived in the gym at the time because I couldn't afford rent at my house and have the gym at the same time. So I moved into a 3x3 meter room upstairs. First 3 months rolled around, and I was paying like $12,000 a month rent. And I got first 3 months rent free. And then the fourth month, I was like, oh, crap, I don't have enough money to pay rent. And I was trying to think outside the box, like what, Groupons and deals were big back then. I was like, okay, I'll do a Groupon, but I don't want to sort of discount my service right now. What I'm going to do is like, what's another service that is in line with my service that I can promote on Groupon? And I was like, I'm going to do infrared saunas. It's like a detox sauna. So I called up this girl I knew at Groupon. I was like, I want to run this promotion. She said, you don't have a website for this. Like, I don't believe that you have it. I was like, give me a second. And when I started the business, it wasn't like there wasn't ClickFunnels and lead pages and all that sort of stuff back then. I was literally creating a website. So I was like, okay, I'll try and create this website. So I grabbed a couple of images off Google. I was creating this website. I got back to it the next day. It's like 13 days left now. And I needed to actually make the money, or I've lost the dream. Everyone would have been right, and I would have been, stupid for starting this business. They're like, and that's what everyone told me at the start. But I knew that I wanted to do this. I knew that I had a greater cause or calling. She saw the website, and she was like, "Cool, let's do it." She launched the deal. It was like 8 sauna sessions for $19. It was crazy. Or it was like, 16 for $35. It was a pretty crazy deal. But for me, the sauna just would sit there. Now, the whole caveat to this is I never actually owned a sauna. So I made this up. I don't own a sauna whatsoever. Now, over the next 12 days, they sold over 800 deals, and I made $20,000 through these infrared sauna deals. Now, they took their cut, which was about $5,000. Back then, it was a little bit better for the business owner. So I took 75%. I took $15,000. And I had on the deal that you had to wait 2 weeks before you could actually use the coupon or use the deal. So I got the money about 1 to 2 days before I had to pay my rent. It was crazy. So I paid $12,000 in rent from this deal that I made up. I had $2,000. I called this company J&H Saunas, and I said, I need you to express deliver me a sauna like as fast as you possibly can. I've got 800 people wanting to use it. So they sent me a sauna. I built this sauna, and it cost about $2,200, and I had $1,000 in my pocket to last another day. Now, that was like my first ever month's rent. So like, you just got to back yourself. You got to believe in yourself. The next month I didn't have enough money. So I borrowed $12,000 off a mate to, I guaranteed him I pay him back $24,000 in 12 weeks, or he could take the equipment. Like, I didn't own it anyway. And then it's like 6 months in, like I was growing because I just had, like, everything was growing. It's just a little bit slower than what I wanted, but I just kept backing myself and had the belief that no, like, it's going to work. Like, this is like this unwavering belief. 6 months in, I was like, I need help with social media marketing. I need to get better at what I'm doing. This person in the States actually was running this competition. He was fantastic at social media, fantastic at blogging. He was running a competition who could rep his mastermind the best. And I was like, okay, I know this guy. It was a 30-day competition. People were holding up signs of the Eiffel Tower and Empire State Building. I was sitting in Melbourne. I was like, how do I do this? It was the last day of the 30 days. I was like, I need this. I really need to learn how to market because this walking the streets thing is not really working for me as best as it should. So I went down to the tattoo store shop and I tattooed his website across the back of my shoulder, took a photo of the website tattooed on my body, sent it in. And the first thing he said is, you are absolutely crazy. But the second thing, he's like, you win a year of coaching. And I got to go to this mastermind in Vegas with like Bill Phillips, who like created Body for Life, and all these guys doing crazy amounts of money. And it sort of set me on a different altitude because I'm around the sum of the 5 people. And all of a sudden, what I thought was amazing was not actually amazing. So I'm like, my belief structure must change again. And I need to increase my skill set around marketing. And both of those things happened. And, the rest is history.
Wow, I'm so glad I asked that question. What an incredible story. And I love that your total courage in backing yourself. That's absolutely inspiring. Travis, it's been so much fun talking to you today and hearing your story. Where can we go to learn more about you, to follow you, and to connect with you?
Probably Instagram's the biggest one I'm playing at the moment, which is Travis Jones Entrepreneur. So just at Travis Jones Entrepreneur. Follow me if you have any questions on marketing or sales or anything like that. Like, just DM me and I'll always answer people because that's what I do. It's just like trying to serve on a higher level. So I might not get back to you in the first 24 hours, but I'll definitely get back to you and definitely help you with, if I can, with however I can as well. So hit me up on Instagram, and that's where I'm at right now.
Travis, thank you so much for joining us on the Story Engine podcast.
Thanks so much, man.